in Reykjavik, I came back from that and I realized, I said, you know what? I said, listen, this is how we're living our life. This is the 100-year lifestyle way. There was no assisted living center, very few in the country, very few, if any. I didn't see one Alzheimer's care center. There's probably some there, but I didn't see any. And we see them on every corner in this country. Why? Because the path of the allopath to constantly treating symptoms with drugs is not the 100-year lifestyle way. Welcome to the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast, dedicated to you and your loved ones living at 100% for 100 years and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Plasker. Welcome, everybody, to the 100-Year Lifestyle, where we are transforming health and longevity worldwide so that you and your loved ones can live at 100% for 100 years and beyond. And man, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant today because there are so many things that we are seeing in our office that we need to talk about. We should probably talk about them every day. We're hearing about them from our 100-Year Lifestyle network of doctors, chiropractors who are really making a difference on the ground in their community for the people that they're serving. And so let's just talk about them one at a time. We'll hammer them out and you're going to be inspired. Hopefully you'll get some confidence in yourself, your body's ability to heal itself, to thrive. And we're going to begin with this principle of 100% for 100 years. What does that really mean? We've talked about it on other podcasts. We talk about it all the time, but somebody asked me about it. What does this mean to me? Just the other day, and I found myself explaining it in a way that I think will make a difference for you. And so when you look at this, and if you're watching this video, you can see this behind me, this background, 100% for 100 years. We have 100:0, 100:1, 100:2, the first decade of life, the second decade of life, the third decade of life, every single decade of life, every single year, every single day. You have the opportunity to make choices to help you function at your highest level over the course of your lifetime. You can choose in that moment for the day. And the choices that you make in that day, whatever day that is and whatever year that is going to support you living your best life that day and also support you as you age, no matter what age that is. And so I'll give you an example. So today you're going to be faced with a lot of choices. They're food choices, their fitness choices, their passion choices, their work choices, their school choices, their relationship choices. There are choices that you're going to make that are either going to give you immediate gratification just right now in the moment that will sabotage your life, your future, your health, your vitality, or they're choices that will support you confidently in the moment that you're doing the best thing for yourself, not just today, but for the long term. Those are the choices that are 100 choices. And when you look at those numbers, that 100:1, that first 100, that 100%, that is the number that you have control over. The second 100, that's a number that you do not have control over. Nobody knows when they're going to pass. Nobody knows when they're going to die. Nobody knows when their moment is coming, when their time is up. So why do we say 100? Because you have the ability to choose in that moment to live at 100% or as close to 100% today as you possibly can, knowing that your human potential, your life expectancy potential is 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 years and beyond. Nobody knows what that ultimate life expectancy is going to be for them. We have a lot of people that are taking the Empire. If you haven't gone to 100yearlifestyle.com and taken that Empire score, it says calculate your longevity potential. You just fill in those numbers. You click on that, you fill in the numbers, and it will calculate your score or what your minimum potential years remaining is. Well, if you calculate that, we had somebody the other day, they were 82 years old. They had 82 was their oldest person in their family that ever lived, and their life expectancy remaining, according to the minimum, was 0 because they had already lived the equivalent number of years as the oldest person in their family history. And this person was healthy. This person is not going anywhere anytime soon. It doesn't look like that anyway. And so for that person making good choices, healthier choices all across the different aspects of life, it's important that that person realize that, what is the upward limit of their longevity? They don't know. They didn't know 10 years ago that they were going to live beyond 82 years. They didn't know that was going to be the case for them. And so here they are, they're being faced with zero. No, it's not zero. The minimum is not the maximum. So they're kind of excited that they're rewriting their family history, which is a big part of what the 100-year lifestyle is all about. The history in your family does not equal the present and the future for you. We did an interview, one of the recent podcast interview with Yael Jaffe from 3x4 Genetics, and we were talking about it, and she's a chiropractic advocate extraordinaire. She understands the importance, she's a PhD in genetics, and she understands that the choices that you make, the epigenetic choices, the lifestyle choices that you are making for yourself and for your family are going to be very important for you to live at 100% for 100 years. She wears the shirt. She's passionate about it. And it's a great interview if you haven't watched it yet. And she understands that 100% for 100 years because you have control over the first 100, that first number. So for your babies, if you're a mom and you have young kids, raising them at 100%, doing the things from making sure that they're being nursed if you can nurse, that they're eating quality food when they're young, that they're eating healthy organic food, they're not eating lots of sugar, they're getting their spine and nervous system checked by a chiropractor who's good at that, who specializes in pediatrics and family care. A lot of our 100-year lifestyle doctors do that. And so you keep your nervous system clear. You make sure that they're getting good input into their brain. They're getting good, healthy stimulation. They're not just lost in a phone or an iPad or a computer, but they're actually interacting with the world and exercising their actual intelligence and not just being trained by artificial intelligence. These are things that are really important in that first decade of life to ensure the 100% for 100 years, that 100% in that moment, so they can function at their best in that moment, the moment that they have control over. Because we don't know when that 100 years is going to be. It may not be 100 years. It may be, 57 years or 69 years or 83 years or 94 years or somewhere in between. That's the part that is the great unknown. But what we are learning about human potential in this age of longevity, where the entire industrial complexes of the world right now are beginning to organize themselves around healthy longevity, we are realizing the body's innate ability to adapt, that we have an innate intelligence. 100-year-old people are still one of the world's fastest growing groups percentage-wise. And even though life expectancy has dropped to the lowest level since World War II, it is not because of human potential. It is because of really bad care. It is not because of the C virus that supposedly attacked the world, which is one of the most absurd things that we're learning about. Dig into that if you haven't dug into some of those things that are out there. The research will be talking more about that. We talked about that during the pandemic. We talked about that with becoming a least vulnerable person. And we're not going to get into it in detail now, but the reality of it is during all of that, when we were trying to protect the most vulnerable people, the elderly people, these are the ones that actually their life expectancy did not go down. Their life expectancy went down. Actually, it did go down by 0.1 year. But by the bad care and the bad recommendations and the untested procedures that were done in hospitals and to every mandated pretty much on every human being on the planet, socially and immorally, in my opinion, we are seeing that it's the babies and the kids whose life expectancies have dropped by nearly 20%. The 40-year-olds, their life expectancy dropped by nearly 16%. The 40 to 50-year-olds dropped. People are dying, dropping dead at younger ages like no other time in history because of the really bad care that happened. And so you have to understand that if you're still here and you have the opportunity to make 100-year lifestyle, 100% for 100-year choices, you don't know when that time is going to be. You have adapted to all the stress. You have adapted to all of the insanity of the world, and you're still here. So to hit a reset button for you, to make really good choices beginning today, to not be manipulated by the media, but to begin to trust yourself, to trust your innate intelligence and understand that you have the opportunity to live at 100% right now for 100 years and beyond, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 years and beyond. And you know what? If you're taken early, you would have had 100% of whatever many years that you lived. The reality of it is, though, because of what we've learned about the accidental centenarians and because of the body's ability to adapt, that because you're still here, your opportunity and the possibilities of you living beyond 100 are greater than ever. And so we want you to make those healthy choices. And so there's a couple of other things as you understand this 100%, your choices today, and that 100 years, the difference between the first number and the second number. A lot of you wearing that 100 workout shirt as a reminder when you're exercising to think in this way as an anchor for making really good 100-year lifestyle choices. We're proud of you. We appreciate you. And so a couple of other things that I really want to talk about that are relevant. You know, there's this saying, follow the leader. We say, follow the leader. Well, you shouldn't really follow the leader unless you know where they're taking you and where they're going. Right now, we are so concerned with how many of our practice members and the chiropractors that we're working with, the other providers that we're working with, where we are seeing people that have followed the leader, the allopathic leaders. They have followed the allo path. And that path has created, if you just wake up with common sense and look around you, you're going to see that in almost every community, there are assisted living centers on every single corner where people are rotting away. They are not living. They are not living 100% for 100 years. They are living at 63% for 80, 90, and 100 years. They're living at 40% for 80, 90, and 100 years. They're living at 20% for 80, 90, and 100 years. That is not the way that it's supposed to be. We have great 100-year stories on 100yearlifestyle.com where people have been living really great quality of lives for 100 years and beyond. And listen, this is not a family history thing. This is not a genetic thing that we are supposed to deteriorate. We really have to, in my opinion, we really have to wake up based on the expertise that we are providing in the world and every day working with our patients, people in our community. And we see people that come from all over the state, all over the country, our local people. I know a lot of our 100-year providers, they're getting the same kind of response, is that they're seeing people coming from all over because people are searching for truth. They do not trust the allopath anymore, the people that are just treating symptoms. You know, God forbid you get a diagnosis like cancer or heart disease, and they may tell you, the allopath may tell you, well, it runs in your family. Well, I don't really believe that that is true for most people. The reality is what runs in most people's family is the exposure to toxic chemicals, the not having discernment on what to put into their body that's good for them. They have nerve degeneration that's been happening for a long time. Their bodies are rotting away. They're overweight. They're highly stressed. Their posture is bad. They're not taking care of themselves financially in the way that they should. They're not into lifelong learning. They're following very bad choices. The path of the allopath is what they're following. They're following that allopath, listening to the physicians of the day that are just pharma driven. This is a big problem. We are seeing these people that are taking cholesterol drugs for years. Their brains are being wiped out by statin drugs. Mercola just did another great report on it. There's a book on it, The Great Cholesterol Myth, The Great Cholesterol Con. We know that your body needs cholesterol for cell membranes, for brain health, for cognitive function. And we know that long-term statin drug use can lead to dementia and all kinds of other problems, muscle aches, muscle pains, degeneration, all kinds of things. And so you see these Alzheimer's care centers and you see these people, what did they do? How did they live? So many of them, they have shoeboxes full of drugs. Listen, it was not meant to be that way. It's interesting. I may have told this story before. You know, when I was in Iceland, when Lisa and I went to Iceland, it's about 5 years ago, we were in Reykjavik. It was a fantastic trip. It's a country that has a much higher life expectancy than the United States of America. And we were in Reykjavik and I started to walk around. I started to walk away from Lisa. She said to me, she said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to look for a pharmacy, an assisted living center, and an Alzheimer's care center. And I walked 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 and I finally found a pharmacy I looked all over Reykjavik, one of the biggest cities in Iceland, and I found one pharmacy there. It was on a back road, and it was the size of a shoebox. And it hit me, and I realized, well, this is why they think differently. They don't have drug ads on television telling them what to take constantly for this symptom and that symptom. That is the path of the allopath. It will take you to the assisted living centers long term. If you survive all of those drugs, you will end up probably in those homes. And, the fear mongering as a result of that you're going to die. Listen, nobody knows when your number's coming up. So it really is going to depend on how you choose to live your life. And to choose not to follow the path of the allopath is a choice that you get to make. And so in Reykjavik, I came back from that and I realized, I said, you know what? I said, listen, this is how we're living our life. This is the 100-year lifestyle way. There was no assisted living center, very few in the country, very few, if any. I didn't see one Alzheimer's care center. There's probably some there, but I didn't see any. And we see them on every corner in this country. Why? Because the path of the allopath, the constantly treating symptoms with drugs, is not the 100-year lifestyle way. Listen, you have an innate intelligence. From the moment of conception, you have the blueprint within you to help you and your loved ones live at 100% for 100 years if you nurture that intelligence, if you learn to listen to your body, trust your innate intelligence, make sure there's no interference to the expression of that intelligence, you will thrive and you will function at your highest level for a lifetime, and you deserve it, and so does your family. And so what's important for you to understand as we go through this process today, this rant, I told you it was going to be a rant, and I hope it inspires you, is to give you the confidence and the strength to live, to follow the leader, which is trusting your innate intelligence, not the allopath, but trusting your innate intelligence and finding providers and doctors that learn to work with, that know how to, that have the expertise to work with your body's innate intelligence to help you express your full potential throughout your entire lifetime. That's what 100% for 100 years means. I really believe that we are seeing a time where we have seen the rise and the fall of the allopath. Pharma-driven, not being able to make decisions that are truly supportive of your health and well-being long-term. Because here's the reality, of it is healthy people don't go to medical doctors. They don't go to physicians. They go, they rarely, I shouldn't say they don't. Some go for regular checkups and things like that, but many choose to utilize chiropractic care or functional health doctors as their primary care. I mean, in our family, I realized just in our family and the people that we took care of, what would happen to the pediatric industry? What would happen to the physician, that allopathic industry? What would happen even to the pharmaceutical industry if people lived the way that we have taught people to live over the years? It's one of the reasons why they get frustrated with us, mad at us, and attack us. And the reason is because we don't go to allopathic physicians unless there's an emergency room type of situation. For myself, I know that I have a family history of heart disease, cancer, thyroid disease. My parents were diagnosed with that when they were really young. And I found out early on that the allopath said, well, listen, Dr. Plasker, or listen, Eric Plasker, you have a family history of heart disease and cancer and thyroid disease. You should be on this medication. You should take these statin drugs. You should take all of these things because you have a family history of heart disease. It runs in your family. And I realized at that point, no, that's not what ran in my family. What ran in my family was being overweight, high stress lifestyle, eating a lot of processed foods. And my parents were great parents. They loved me. I have no beef with them, no issue with them at all. They were great parents. They took care of us. They did what they thought was the right thing to do. And so I just learned a lot along the way and said, you know what? I am not going to follow that path. So now as a 60-year-old man on zero medication, haven't been on any medication since I'm in elementary school or junior high school, holistically taking care of myself. My chiropractor has been my primary care provider. I take some supplements. I don't overtake supplements. I take supplements to a healthy diet. good nutritional things. I take magnesium. I use magnesium via skin. It's highly absorbed in my body. And so it's good for me. It's good for the nerve supply. It's good for the digestion. It's good for elimination. It's good for muscle contraction. It's good for everything. It's very important for having a healthy body. And so here I am at 60 years old, the healthiest that I've been in my life that I know of, and haven't had the need to go see an allopath, and I don't go. So what would happen if everybody with a family history of heart disease, cancer, thyroid disease, diabetes, if everyone lived this 100-year lifestyle way, what would happen to that allopathic world? It would collapse. No wonder they get mad at us and they attack us because of this situation. Raising our kids without shots, without drugs, with very, 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 very rare pediatric visits. Listen, if everybody did what we did, and our kids were the healthiest kids on the block, when all the other kids were getting sick and missing carpool and missing school, our kids were getting mad at us because they had to go to school because they were always healthy, 99.9% of the time. And so what would happen to the pediatric industry? It would go bankrupt overnight. And so listen, I'm not telling you to do that or not do that. I'm recommending to you that you wake up and stop to listen to those drug ads. Don't just watch the people happy and smiling on TV. Listen to them. They are telling you the playbook, the side effects that you're going to get, how it's going to affect you long-term, which leads to a deteriorating quality of life as you age. We call it the statin glaze. It affected my father. My father took statin drugs for so long that he ended up dying at the age of 78 after spending 10 years in a home with no brain, didn't know his family, didn't know his wife of 44 years, didn't know his kids who he loved, didn't know his grandkids, didn't really get to know them because his brain got wiped out because of the long-term use of statins. And we look back at pictures right now, you could see it in his eye. You could see the statin glaze on old pictures before he actually got diagnosed. You could see the glare that he lost the ability to focus. And my mother saw it, and she tried to tell us, but we didn't really see it. Now, looking back, we see it, and you can see it. If you have people in your life that are taking long-term statins, you'll see they have an intention tremor sometimes when they go to reach for something. You can see a little quiver in the lip, which is another way that you start to see it. You see them staring off into space. They have to force themselves focusing back. You are seeing signs, and you can make different choices. So I encourage you to become educated, do your homework. You got to be careful because you used to be able to say, just do the research, but you can't really do the research anymore because there's censorship. So you got to dig into places where you can find it. Go to that book, The Great Cholesterol Myth, The Great Cholesterol Con. Mercola has some good stuff. Mercola.com has good information on it. There's other people reporting on it. We talk about it periodically. Here's the reality deal. That is the path of the allopath. We want you to live the 100-year lifestyle way, the 100-year lifestyle path. Certainly in extreme circumstances, of course, you need those types of treatments and processes to support the saving of your life in a given moment. But if you're given the opportunity to make a healthcare choice that is not radical, maybe it's cool, but it's radical, you ought to think twice about it. We have people that are coming in to see us. They have 5 screws in their back, 10 screws in their back. They've had 10 injections. You can see that the injections have caused in a localized area spurs and deterioration in the body, in the spine, around the nerves that are affecting their whole life and organic function that do not exist in people that have not had these procedures. You see people have, when you hear a surgeon say, oh, well, just take it out. There's a lot more to it than just taking it out. There's scar tissue formation, there's rehabilitation, there's all kinds of side effects that can happen, dangers that can happen as a result of that, much more dangerous, much, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times in many cases, more dangerous than eating healthier foods and even chiropractic adjustments. And so it's important that you go conservative and you stick with it, not just for crisis care, but as a part of a lifestyle so that you can give your body the chance to adapt and heal itself. We have a person that comes in just recently, and she says, my surgeon said that they can just go in and clean this up. If they could say we could just go take it out, well, if you just take it out, why does it come back? See, that's a really good question. Why does it come back? And the answer is the body is not functioning properly. The body is toxic. What can I do? You should ask, what can I do to remove those toxicities? What can I do to remove the interference to function? And take that approach, either along with those other things or in place of those other things, so that it doesn't come back, so that you make your body healthier and your body is more resistant to that disease or dis-ease that's causing those problems in the first place. So if they take it out and it comes back and the chances are coming back, you got to look at it for yourself, because the allopath doesn't necessarily have those answers. If they had those answers, the cancer rates would be going down. They would not be continuing to go up with new cancers being found out and new types of cancers being discovered all the time. So don't just take it out. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body in a new way. Cleaning it up. We can just go in there and clean it up. That really is frustrating to me, because we have a person just came in the other day, had a knee replacement surgery. They went in. They just were going to clean it up. Well, they just cleaned it up and they made dirty a lot of other things that are just not working right for this person. Their knee got cleaned up, but the other knee is now hurting and is starting to become a problem. The hip is becoming a problem. The low back is becoming a problem. The foot is becoming a problem. It's radiating down their leg. And guess what? Now they have 7 or 8 problems and not just one problem. And you know what? They never did anything concerned. They never saw a chiropractor before to help align the foot, the hip, the knee, and all of those things. They never saw work with the foot to put some stability, spinal pelvic stabilizers, things like that to support the foot, to balance out the knee. They never went the conservative route first. I'll tell you an interesting story. I told you this was going to be a rant, didn't I? Yeah, I'm really frustrated with a lot of things that are happening, and I care about you. I love you. And I want you and your family to not have to deal with a lot of these things. I went skiing years ago with my family, and we were in Lake Louise, Canada. It was a beautiful trip, and I am an expert skier. Double blacks, back bowls, all of those things are where I like to spend my time when I'm on the slopes. And I was on what my kids affectionately call a pre-green, like going from the lift to the slope. And it was their second or third time skiing. I was spending a lot of time with them, and I was on a pre-green, a very flat trail. And I looked back, I was going not fast, and I looked back to see where my kids were, and I caught an edge and I felt my right knee pop, and I went down. And I was really upset because I knew my trip was over. It was only, I think, the second day. It might have even been the first day, but I think it was the second day. And I was escorted down the mountain on a gurney and ended up spending the rest of the vacation in a beautiful hotel room with ice on my knee. And I was really upset. Came home, I went to my orthopedic surgeon, who said, you have a torn medial collateral ligament and a torn ACL and MCL. And I said, oh man, so what do I need to do? He said, well, the sooner we have surgery, the better. And I took a deep breath and I said to myself, you know what? What's the rehab going to be like? This is an important point. What's the rehab going to be like? And they said to me, well, the rehab is going to be about 6 months of rehab. We're to strengthen the knee, strengthen all the muscles around that area. And then what we'll do is at that point, you should be fine. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. If I don't have surgery over the next 6 months, or if I choose not to have surgery, what's going to be the issue? What am I not going to be able to do? And he said to me, well, you won't be able to play tennis and you won't be able to play basketball, because that stop starting and lateral movement, you'll really run the risk of doing more severe damage. I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the next 3 months and I'm going to do prehab, before hab versus rehab after. I'm going to do prehab and put myself in a position to strengthen my body, strengthen my knee in the best way possible. And then based on that, based on how I do with the prehab, I'm going to go ahead and make the decision to have surgery or not. So I got really focused on prehab. I was a little overweight at the time. I leaned down. I strengthened my knees. I strengthened my core. I strengthened my posture. I got adjusted a little more frequently. I got my knee adjusted, my foot adjusted, my low back, my spine adjusted, my nervous system cleared out more regularly, exercised more. And I decided, and it was about 2 months into my prehab, that I was on an airplane and I happened to sit next to the head trainer of the Atlanta Thrashers at the time, which was the hockey team, the Atlanta hockey team. And so I'm sitting next to this guy and we started talking, and I said, you know what, let me ask you a question. I tore my knee up. Supposedly I have a torn ACL, torn MCL, and I need surgery right away. I told my surgeon, this guy, that I did not want to do it. I wanted to do prehab first. And I'm feeling pretty good. I can do pretty much 2 months in. I can pretty much do everything that I want to do. I can jog in spurts. I can walk, which I like to do. I don't want to play tennis. I don't want to play basketball. It's not anything that is really important to me as I age. And he said, so I asked him, I said, if you were me, would you have that surgery? And he looked at me and he said, Dr. Plasker, he said, honestly, you know, with what I see with these athletes that want to get back on the ice and need to get back on the field really, really quickly, they have these surgeries, and 2, 3, 4 years later, a lot of them regret it. He said, really? Wow. Why do they regret it? He said, because the surgery, there's scar tissue formation that happens, and it causes all kinds of problems. It limits their life. It limits their ability to function. And they had a limited time to cash in on their career, so they did it. But a lot of them, if you talk to them now, they probably wouldn't have done it. A lot of them had ended their career. They wish they would have done it differently. Some of them are really happy that they did it, of course. But if you're not a pro athlete, I think you're doing exactly the right thing with doing the prehab, exercising it, strengthening your core, getting adjusted. I think you're doing all the right things. And so I'm telling you this story, and this was about 14 years ago. For me, this was 14 years ago. Still haven't had surgery. I could ski. That's what I want to do. I could run. I could walk. I could hike. I could do all the things that I want to do. And you know what? We didn't create a secondary, tertiary, and problems that were going to affect me down the road. And again, like I said, I could do the things that I want to do. And so I'm not saying that that's true for everybody, but you should at least explore that option with the intensive prehab. And just because a procedure is new and cool doesn't mean it's something that you should do. We've learned that with the jabs during this pandemic. It was cool. It was new. It was, warp speed, cutting edge, all this stuff. And we are realizing that it is probably going to go down as one of the most damaging allopathic procedures, treatments, preventative things that were ever implemented on humanity, forced on humanity, ever in the history of the planet Earth. And so, listen, it is really important that you trust your innate intelligence. You do these things, you can rewrite your family history. You can live differently, not have a medicine chest in your house, but a bathroom cabinet that is just there for storage. Just doing the things that are really healthy for you for the long haul, and not making decisions based on fear, because false evidence appearing real, that acronym for fear, has never been more true in the world today, as we are being scared into doing things that are taking us down the path that follow the leader path, that allopath to the nursing homes and assisted living centers, rather than you living at 100% for 100 years. So every single one of you, we tell our patients this all the time, you're getting younger every day. And a lot of them will agree with me, and they will tell you that, because they're getting younger every day. Because if you feel better and your body is healing 30 days after you were suffering and sick, then you are younger, feeling younger than you did 30 days ago, even though you're 30 days older. And you could do that every day, every week, every month, and every year if you do the things that we're talking about, the 100-year lifestyle way. So listen, what an opportunity it is for you to live it. Your best life every day, starting today. That first number, that 100%, for 100 years, 1 year at a time, every year along the way. You have control of that first number. Maybe today it'll be 97%. Maybe it'll be 88%. Maybe it'll be 92%. Maybe it won't be 100% today, but as a goal, as a vision, 100% for 100 years and beyond. You cannot control that second number, but if you live at 100%, you will get the most out of every day along the way with the likelihood of living your best life every day, 100% for 100 years and beyond. So listen, everybody, so happy that you could join us for this rant. I feel better. I hope you feel better as a result of this. I hope you're inspired. Listen, please like our podcast. Please like our page. Please like I don't ever ask for that. Like our stuff. Share it with the people in your life. More than ever, this message is relevant and making a difference for so many people around the world. Go visit your chiropractor. Go visit our 100-year providers. They will take amazing care of you. They'll evaluate you from this perspective to support you and your family living your best life every day. You're never too young and you're never too old to get started because remember that Mac story. He will inspire you like he's inspired people all over the world. You can watch that on 100yearlifestyle.com as well. So thanks for being with us, everybody. Remember, your 100 is coming. You make the call. Thank you so much for joining us on the 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have topics that you want us to cover, people you want us to interview, maybe you have some stories that you want to share, stories of yourself, loved ones, people in your life, we would love to hear from you and share your story. Please email us at my100@100yearlifestyle.com. And remember, nobody wants to get to 100 or even 50, 60, or 70 for that matter, crippled, broke, and alone. So please share the 100-Year Lifestyle, all of our podcasts, social media pages, website with your family, friends, and coworkers so they can take this journey with you. And until next time, adjust your lifestyle. Live your best life today and every day on the road to a sensational century. Dr. Plasker, signing off.